During my week in California, I interviewed dozens of people that work in the big tech, ranging from product to software to AI engineering. And this is exactly what they said to do to earn a job in that industry and tips for creating your own revenue streams. Hi, my name is Courtney. I'm a college developer, and on this channel, I literally give you a roadmap into breaking into the tech industry, whether that's the startup route or the big tech route. And today, we'll specifically be talking about my interviews that I had in some of the bigger tech companies, ranging from Google, Amazon, Meta, Adobe, Apple, and I pretty much picked their brain a little bit and asked them what they did to get their jobs there, what was the work culture like, and then what are some things that I can be doing as a college student or a new grad to prepare for the workforce. While I was at Adobe for a conference, I sat down with several different people that worked at a lot of different companies. The main one that I actually saw a lot of Adobe employees previously coming from was Amazon. First, we'll focus on product. Some of their biggest gripes that they had with some of the more tech-sided companies is the culture at the bigger tech companies. A lot of them really had to say that it was really competitive and kind of a hostile work environment almost, because everybody's trying to kind of almost compared to each other in a sense. You always have to meet a certain quota in a sense, and if you don't, they frequently lay off people or get fired, and you never really have, even despite you having a salary, you don't have that job security feeling that you would have at some other companies that aren't really known for layoffs. I know at the time of posting this video, Microsoft has laid off 4,800 employees on their Xbox teams. So, despite having that kind of security that they previously were kind of promised, they definitely felt like they weren't actually secured and that they at any point could be next on the chopping block. When I was in California, me and my friends were walking around Google, and we were just stopping honestly anybody with a badge to ask them about their paths, including some Google PMs. Now, if you were doing some interview prep, obviously they said doing a lot of case interviews, and also Google has a large portfolio of resources for helping you prepare to break into the tech industry. A lot of people actually said that Google is kind of like the keystone, everybody kind of bases their PM program off of Google's because it is so developmentally friendly. They make you from a good PM to a great PM. So that's honestly a lot of feedback that I got, was to use some of their resources when it comes to preparing for interviews. But in general, they said that they didn't really feel too overwhelmed as a PM at Google, but a lot of gripes where I personally noticed were from Amazon and Microsoft in a sense as well. A lot of the big takeaways that I had though when it comes to PM is specifically making sure that, one, if you are applying, making sure that you have a product that has actual users. That honestly makes you stand out more than anything, especially in the age of vibe coding where you can use Claude or Cursor or any of these honestly AIs to code your product. There's no reason why you don't have a product out there. The main thing is actually getting users on that product so you can showcase that full product lifecycle knowledge of listening to people, developing a decent product, and then actually getting users, and then actually listening to their feedback and getting iterations on it. By doing that and showcasing your abilities to really market this product, that honestly serves yourself up as on a silver platter if you are trying to apply for some of the jobs. Especially though, another big thing with that is that you need to showcase empathy in your applications by putting yourself in the audience's feet, showcasing you understand their needs and are better able to deliver that. That is honestly product gold, and that helps you so much when it comes to your application process for it. So 100% you should be trying to put yourself in the user's shoes and delivering a product that they'd actually want to use frequently. Now, on the general software engineering side, I talked to a couple software engineers specifically at Adobe that previously worked at Amazon, Meta, and Apple. The people that worked at Adobe in software engineering specifically, mainly the people I talked to worked in the back end, so their tech stack mainly in suit of Python and TypeScript, which TypeScript isn't a back-end language, so I don't really know how that fit in there. But everybody that I asked, they did Java, Python, or TypeScript for the tech stack needed. For interview prep, a lot of the big words that I heard was leak code and then understanding systems, because systems prep is honestly going to help you out a little bit more than leak code. They're both equally as difficult to understand, but in general, understanding the data structures and algorithms of a language and also actually the application of the language is going to get you so far. If you are specifically looking for new grad roles within software engineering, you definitely should be looking at some of these summits that are out there. After speaking with an influencer that is frequently in the know about applying to jobs, he essentially was talking about how you really should be going to some of these summits, Gray Matter Summit, things of that sort, because that is genuinely where the job applications are coming from. They're no longer really publishing the job applications on line like they frequently have been, because so many people are applying. So it's really more like an invite only type of situation. So make sure you're trying to be aware of some of these invite only applications so then you can get yourself out there. Now the question is, how do you get invited to the invite only summits, and that is by going to hackathons, going to some of the freer summits, and actually networking your butt off. You need to get yourself on the radar of some of these bigger tech companies so then you can be invited to some of their summits where they fly you out, pay for your accommodations, etc., etc. So for instance, what I did with Adobe, where I applied to this super competitive program, got in, they flew me out and all this stuff, that put me directly on their radar during application season. Does that guarantee me a job at Adobe? Absolutely not. But it definitely gives me a bit of a leg up in the application process because I know exactly what they're looking for and they have already seen some potential in me. You know what I'm saying? I say that not to flex. I say that genuinely as a point of warning and as a point of understanding. You need to understand that you need to get yourself on the radar of some of these bigger tech companies, and the way to do that is by going to some of these hackathons, summits, and conferences. People are not going to know that your portfolio is out there on the web. You need to make it known. You need to make your sites known. And similar to PM, you really should be making a product and getting users on it, because that can also showcase your abilities to really build something. So, I have a video literally talking all about projects that really help you stand out. In general though, something simple like a weather app isn't going to help you anymore. You need to do full clones of sites or your own site where you are helping people in your own kind of way. Solo developing is fine, but honestly, I really would push you to be on a group. Join those cross collaboration skills really helps you out in that application process as well. And then finally, for AI engineering, funny story with this, when I was walking around Google asking people, my friends, they asked one random guy, and the first guy that they asked, of course, it happened to be a random security guard. And the first person that I asked when I was solo happened to be one of the founders of Google Gemini. He was genuinely such a sweet guy, and we already have a scheduled meeting because he just genuinely was so full of resources and help. So I already been going to meet with him, but I do want to tell you about some of the things that he specifically talked about. This guy specifically works on Google DeepMind, specifically in the post-training code. He similarly works in Python. This is mainly the language that he's working with, but in general, he says that you really should be reaching out for research opportunities, especially when you're in college. I know one of the girls in my group went to an Ivy League for undergrad, kind of skipped the master's and went straight to get her doctorate at another really prestigious institution. I'm not going to name them just for her personal safety, but genuinely she's doing a combined master's doctorate program, because that is what a lot of these people are doing. Going to target schools definitely helps you out. So if you are not going to a target school for undergrad, switching to one for a master's or postgrad in general can really help you out in the whole application process, because a lot of companies honestly don't even give us the time of day at some of these non-target schools, despite them being actually fairly good institutions. So either you go to a really good school or you work your butt off to get noticed from your no-name school. Regardless, he and a couple other AI engineers that I talked with at specifically Adobe were very helpful for just making sure that you understand that you should be doing as much research as possible and, hosting your own tests. You can test out your AI, try to break it. It's easy to create things like gems on Gemini or create your co-work agent with Claude, or even creating MCP server, but actually doing something where you are trying to break the AI or trying to build your own AI agent of some sort, while expensive and definitely will tear up your GPU, will definitely help you stand out during that application process, because a lot of people want to break into AI engineering. While speaking with a lot of these people in big tech and giving them mini interviews, it was honestly genuinely super informative on what some things you could be doing, especially if you were trying to break into the big tech realm. If you're trying to break into the more of the startup realm, a lot of them in general were just you need to be networking like crazy. YC or Y Combinator has a huge startup school that they do, that they kind of started last year-ish, and this year they're doing it as well. And so there's a lot of opportunities out there for you to network with other entrepreneurial spirited people, but in general, just making sure you're surrounding yourself with other ambitious people, and then also surrounding yourself with people that will potentially invest in your company or use your products. It's honestly going to set you up greater than anything you can do. If you are in college right now, there's a plethora of graphic design students that want to build logos and work on themselves. There's a lot of developers that want to build projects on their teams, and there's a lot of people that want that projectness on their portfolios. So teaming up with some of them for creating a startup is honestly one of your best bets that you can do. There's a whole group called Stealth, I believe. They're another pretty decent startup group where you don't share your idea until it's an MVP has been developed or something of that sort. That's another cool little startup crew that you can join to surround yourself with other like-minded individuals. But startup school, that's a really big one, and applications I believe came out in March this year, so look out for that in March recurringly. But yeah, honestly, that was like the main gist of the feedback that I've gotten and the advice that I've heard while like being in California. It genuinely was a life-changing experience, and I highly encourage everybody to apply to programs like that where they fly you out there to like experience it over there. If it wasn't for the cost of living, I genuinely would highly consider living in California. But if you're making enough money, obviously the cost of living doesn't really affect you, and they pay for the cost of living. That's the thing. Like if you work in big tech, your salary does more than enough to cover the cost of living in California. But then also, I also want to encourage you, speak out to these random people. Ask them what they do. Ask them what their advice is. Honestly, asking for people's advice is like, they're going to help you almost every single time. Asking what people do for a living sometimes might offend somebody. So be weary on that, but definitely ask for advice. Everybody's willing to give it to you. People love talking about themselves, so they'll definitely give you their piece of advice and their perspective on a lot of things. I hope you found this video helpful. I'll be sure to link a crap ton of resources in the description, whether you're trying to break into big tech, create your own startup. You know me, I love filling my description full of resources, so be sure to check it out. Again, I want to thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Course Corner.